All right, let's dive right into the fast-paced world of trading. Now, this isn't your typical buy and hold investing strategy we're talking about today. Nope, this is all about getting hands-on with the markets, and we're going to break down exactly how it works.
And that is the big question, isn't it? It's what gets so many people interested in trading in the first place. Instead of waiting around for years, trading is about one thing: actively capitalizing on short-term market movements and turning those daily price swings into real opportunities.
So here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off by drawing a clear line between trading and investing. Then we're going to take a tour of the global markets, where all the action is. After that, we'll uncover a really powerful concept: how you can make money whether a market is going up or down. Then we'll look at a modern way you can get started, and finally, we'll wrap up with what might just be the most important piece of the entire puzzle: the trader's mindset.
Okay, first things first, let's clear up something that trips a lot of people up. Trading and investing, they might happen in the same place, but believe me, their philosophies are worlds apart. It really all boils down to your timeline and your goal. An investor, they're looking at the big picture, that long, steady climb over many years. They're playing the long game. A trader, on the other hand, is focused on the daily peaks and valleys. They're right there in the trenches, trying to profit from those small, immediate shifts in price. It's active versus passive, short-term versus long-term.
And that gets us right to the heart of what a trader actually does. It really comes down to one crucial skill: predicting which way the price is going to go. If you think an asset's price is headed up, you buy. If you think it's going down, you sell. At the end of the day, your success pretty much hinges entirely on how often you get that direction right.
So where does all this happen? Where's the arena for all this buying and selling? Well, let's take a quick tour of the major financial markets. Each one has its own unique personality, its own rhythm, and its own opportunities. Before we get into the different markets, just take a second and let this number sink in. Over $7 trillion, and that's not the total value of the market. That's the amount of money that changes hands in the Forex market every single day. It is just a mind-boggling figure that shows you the immense scale we're talking about here.
First up, we've got Forex, which is short for the foreign exchange market. Here, you're trading currencies against each other, in pairs, like the euro versus the US dollar. And because it literally follows the sun around the globe, it's open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. There's always a market moving somewhere. And that massive volume we just mentioned, it means you can almost always get in or out of a trade instantly.
Next, we have a couple of the classics: futures and stocks. With futures, you're not actually trading the asset itself. You're trading a contract to buy or sell it at a later date. Think big things like the S&P 500 index or crucial commodities like oil and gold. The stock market is a bit more straightforward. You're buying and selling actual little pieces of companies, like Tesla, and you're betting on how they'll perform right now. And of course, you can't talk about markets today without mentioning crypto. This is kind of the Wild West of finance. It never ever sleeps, it's open 24/7, weekends included, and it is famous for its extreme volatility. A single piece of news can send something like Bitcoin soaring or plummeting in just a few hours. That means it comes with a lot of risk, but also the potential for some pretty high rewards.
Okay, now we're getting to one of the most powerful and, frankly, coolest concepts in all of trading. It's this idea that you are not limited to making money only when the market is going up. In fact, some of the biggest opportunities can happen when everything is going down.
This right here is a total game changer. Going long is what most people are familiar with, right? You buy low, you hope to sell high. Simple. But going short, well, that's the trader's secret weapon. It's the strategy that lets you profit when you predict a price is going to fall.
So how in the world does that work? It sounds complicated, but it's really a simple 4-step process. You borrow an asset, you sell it right away at its current price. You wait for the price to fall, and then you buy it back at that new, lower price to return it. That price difference? That's your profit. This is the exact strategy traders used to make a fortune during the 2008 financial crisis as banking stocks were plummeting.
So that brings us to the big question. How do you actually get started, especially if you don't have, a giant pile of cash to risk? Well, this is where a really interesting modern pathway comes into play: the prop firm. So what is a prop firm? Well, simply put, it's a company that does one thing. It finds and funds talented traders. So instead of you having to risk your own life savings, the firm puts up the capital. They bridge that huge gap between having the skill and having the money to actually make it count.
And here's why this model is so incredibly powerful. Look at that profit split. In exchange for putting up all the money and taking on all the risk, the firm keeps a small slice of the pie.
But the vast majority, we're talking 80, sometimes even 90% of the profits, goes directly to you, the trader. Your skill is what generates the profit, so you get to keep the lion's share.
So you don't need a huge nest egg to get going. You just have to prove your skill in an evaluation. If you pass, you can get access to a funded account that could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what this does is it lets you focus 100% on your trading strategy, not on the fear of losing your own money.
We've covered the mechanics, we've covered the markets, we've covered the opportunity, but you know what? None of it matters without the single most important component, and that is having the right mindset.
The dream is powerful, isn't it? The idea of true financial freedom, the flexibility to work from a laptop anywhere in the world, a constant challenge, and an income that's only limited by your own skill. I mean, these are powerful motivators, and for good reason. And let's be clear, they are absolutely possible.
But, and this is probably the most important thing you'll hear today, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's just not. Success in trading is earned, it's not stumbled upon. It's forged through serious education, thousands of hours of practice, and the rock-solid discipline to manage your emotions and stick to your plan, especially when you lose, because you will have losing trades. Everyone does.
So there you have it. That's the landscape of modern trading. We've talked about the core concepts, the markets, a way to get started, and the mindset you're going to need to have a real shot at success. The opportunity is very real, but so is the challenge. So the only question left is the one right there on your screen. You've seen the path, but are you ready to walk it?